please change your name into your own name because it's
I'm under
wasn't there.
David. Now I see.
Yeah, because I saw there are two David Dawson's accounts.
Yeah.
You might need to leave and come back in again. I'm not sure, Nada. I have much grayer hair than Nada.
Richard, could you please help us here?
All right, she's done.
Oh, yeah, okay. There.
How many participants are you expecting?
Quite many because we already shared the invitation to our networks. We have some WhatsApp groups of Indonesian higher education institutions and also within the internal parts of the 7 Indonesian partners that are involved in the project. So yeah, and at the moment we see that there are more than 100 participants already. So it's increasing to 115 at the moment. We also have the media. We invited 25 media journalists attending this meeting. David and Mr. Ambassador, we are still waiting for the attendance of our DGHE from Professor Nizam. So I'm still waiting for a couple of minutes.
That's fine, Ida. Thank you.
Take your time. Thank you.
So David and Mr. Ambassador, while waiting for the Director General of Higher Education, Professor Nizam, allow me to inform some logistic information to the participants during the session of our tonight's agenda. So, Bapak dan Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, I will inform some logistic information during the session of our today's launching. The first one is there will be link to the attendance list that will be shared by my colleague from the committee in the chat box. Please kindly fill in the link because we are going to put the certificate to the participants after the session. And the second one is the question and answer session will be in the last part of our 1 hour session tonight and this evening, I mean. And you could type your questions in the chat box during the presentations of the 3 speakers tonight. So if you think that you would like to address the questions directly, we can also give the chance to you to speak directly to one of the speakers. We are going to resend the link of the attendance list in the middle of the session and also after the session finished, because there is the duration of the attendance list. So once you miss to fill in the attendance list, we will not be able to send you the certificate. Thank you. Okay, so Professor Nizam is already here. Good evening, Professor Nizam.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, Professor Nizam, we have already seen all of the speakers have already been here. We have David Dosen from University of Gloucestershire as the coordinator of the Indonesian Higher Education Leadership Project of Erasmus Plus program. And we also have His Excellency, the Ambassador of European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Vincent Piquet. So, yeah, Professor Nizam, you would like to share something?
Okay, thank you very much for the time. Excellency, Pak Vincent, Pak David, Bu Nada, colleagues from Presiden universities, and all students. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, UK and abroad. It's an honor for me to join this meeting for the launching of iHiLead project implementations. Shall I present my screen?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Nizam. I will open the session first, and then there will be 3 speakers, including your session. So allow me as the moderator to open this event officially. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening for our colleagues in Indonesian time and also for our colleagues in European time. Good afternoon. The Honorable Director General of Higher Education, Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Insinyur Nizam, Master of Science, DIC, PhD. His Excellency, the Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Vincent Piquet, MA, PhD. Our dear colleague, Dr. David Dosen, as the coordinator of our Erasmus Plus project, Indonesian Higher Education Leadership, or iHiLead, from University of Gloucestershire, UK, United Kingdom. Our dear colleagues from the universities, representatives all over Indonesia, and the press or the media that we have already invited, around 25 journalists for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm and hearty welcome to the launching and press conference of Erasmus Plus Indonesian Higher Education Leadership Project. I'm Ida Puspita from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Yogyakarta. It's my honor to be the moderator of this session, representing Indonesian Consortium of the 7 higher education institutions of this project. This launching is open for public and conducted in the second day of our kickoff meeting. So we have already done the kickoff meeting yesterday, and this is our last meeting of the iHiLead project. The program for this evening will be the speeches or the presentations from the 3 speakers that we have already invited, and it will be opened by Dr. David Dawson from University of Gloucestershire, UK, as the leader of this project, and it will be continued by His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piquet, the ambassador from EU to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam. And the last but not least is from Professor Nizam, PhD, as the Director General of Higher Education Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia, who will officially launch the iHiLead project virtually in the last session of our today's agenda. And the last session will be the discussion or the question and answer session by the media and also by the audience who are going to address some questions or some feedback to the speakers of our today's launching. First of all, may I briefly highlight some significant information about this project before it is delivered into more details by Dr. David Dawson as the coordinator of the project. So the iHiLead project is the first structural project in Indonesia that involves the Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia as the member of the consortium in Indonesia, together with the 7 higher education institutions all over Indonesia. If I may mention, the first one is from STIE Malangkuĝeżwara and also Universitas Brawijaya, coming from Malang. And from Semarang, we have Universitas Negeri Semarang. From Yogyakarta, we have Universitas Islam Indonesia and Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. From Bandung, we have Universitas Padjajaran, and from Tangerang, we have Universitas Presiden. So there are 3 state universities and 4 private universities that belong to the consortium or to, of the Indonesian partners of this project. And we also have 3 higher education institutions from our European partner. The first one is University of Gloucestershire, United Kingdom, as the leader of the project. The second one is from Spain. We have University of Granada. And the third one we have from Slovenia, International School for Business and Social Studies. And the program will be linked to the Freedom to Learn and Freedom Campus policy from our Ministry of Education and Culture. And this project, as I have already mentioned earlier, that is led by University of Gloucestershire, UK. So allow me to read the short CV of our first speaker, Dr. David Dawson. So David is a reader in leadership and the director of the Master of Arts, Higher Education Leadership and Management at the University of Gloucestershire. He has developed leadership and development programs and is heavily involved with the delivery using a range of techniques. David has experience in delivering a range of programs within and outside of Europe. And in 2001, his teaching excellence and innovation was recognized by University Teaching Fellowship. His current research focuses on using concepts of ethical leadership to develop positive management practices to assist in leader and management development. He obtained his PhD from University of Gloucestershire. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David Dawson.
Thank you very much, Ida. It's delightful to be here today, and it's been a delightful 2 days as we've started the Indonesian Higher Education Leadership, iHiLead as we called it, project with our partners in Indonesia. iHiLead is a 3-year project funded by the Erasmus Plus Capacity Building in Higher Education Fund, and is a project with a grant of nearly €1 million, 997,000 euros in funding, which commenced in the middle of January 2021. And we're here doing the first bit of serious work over our 2-day meeting. By January 2024, we want to have made a large difference within Indonesia for its higher education through generating higher levels of leadership capacity. The Indonesian higher education sector is facing significant change as it moves from a phase of expansion with increased access to higher education to one where the focus is on enhancing the quality and impact of that education. The iHiLead program will support leaders in implementing national policy reforms, and in particular, the Freedom to Learn and Freedom Campus reforms that are being put in place at the moment following national policy, but also on an ongoing basis as new policy is formed in the future. And certainly the outputs of this project and what we're trying to do is set up leadership development that will last into perpetuity for the Indonesian higher education sector. And that will be long lasting, and hopefully in 50 years time, if we came back, we would see the legacy of this project. The iHiLead programs will support leaders in becoming better at what they do. That's not to say that leaders in universities in higher education are not good already. It is to say that nobody's perfect, and that we can always do better. And so universities in Indonesia, as universities across Europe, need to build their capacity for leadership and governance, setting of strategy, planning and management, and all of those things that lead to better education, modern education, and the delivery of a continuing reforming agenda as we improve what we do on an ongoing basis. The project addresses the need for development for university leaders in Indonesia through the creation and implementation of a structured leadership management development network. And that is a network that will become national in scope and impact as the project is implemented. Associated with that network will be a number of leadership development programs which we will develop to meet the special and particular needs of Indonesia, and making sure that we pay heed to its context. To be clear, this is about European institutions helping Indonesian institutions do what they want and need to do for their sector. It is not the European institutions say that we know everything. In fact, through doing this sort of work for 15 or 20 years in the UK, I can tell you that we also have a lot to learn and improve for our own sectors. When creating the network and program for higher education institutions in Indonesia, we will create the constitution of the network, its operating procedures, and for the programs that go with it, the structures and materials and the support of the program and any certification that goes with that. We'll also be investing in the infrastructure of the Indonesian higher education institutions. We've already identified equipment that we can use to help support the development, the delivery of the program, and where we can facilitate the learning and development of higher education leaders through support with that equipment and infrastructure. A key focus of the leadership development activities will be national management change projects and exercises that will strengthen professional networks. These activities are designed to provide immediate change for the sector within the life of the project. As soon as somebody starts learning something, we want them to start using it. And in fact, we want them to be learning, making changes and learning through doing. And so we do not see learning as something that just happens in a classroom or a video conference. It's something that occurs out in the field as we make our sectors better. During the life of the project, over 500 Indonesian leaders and managers will engage with the Leadership Development Network, and at least 200 will be developed through its programs. And we have aspirations, along with the Ministry of Education and Culture, to go much further than that over the next 3 years. The Leadership Development Network and its programs will then be open to all higher education institutions and their leaders and managers. The EU and Indonesian partners to the project are delighted to have received this opportunity to promote change for the HE sector and look forward to working with the Ministry of Education and Culture. We also thank the Erasmus Plus and the European Union funders for providing us with this opportunity. As Ida said earlier, there are not many higher education capacity building projects which work directly with ministries as structural projects. This is a special opportunity for us. It is something that is to be celebrated, and we will do our absolute utmost to make sure that the opportunity we've been given has a positive impact in the Indonesian higher education sector. Thank you very much, Ida.
Yeah. Thank you very much, David, for your thorough presentation on our project. You know, I have received some comments from the participants that they were wondering about your PowerPoint presentation. As I mentioned that, you know, in Indonesia, if you would like to present something, then you have to provide the PowerPoint presentation. But I believe that there will be session of question and answer. So ladies and gentlemen, you could ask David on the details that would like to hear from him about our project. You could write or you could type the questions in the chat box, or you could directly address the questions later in our discussion session at the end of the agenda today, after the 3 speakers have already presented their speeches. So before inviting the second speaker, to say real apologies to my colleague from President University that I misread the location of the university. It should be in Cikarang, not in Tangerang. So do me apologize. So I'd like to now invite the second speaker of our today's virtual launching and press conference. His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piquet, Master of Arts, PhD, as the European Union Ambassador to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam since the 1st September 2019. Previously, Dr. Piquet was the head of Division for Relations with Maghreb countries, such as Algeria, Libya, Morocco, and Tunisia, in the Middle East and North Africa Department of the European External Action Service in Brussels. Mr. Vincent Piquet's professional experience in the European Union has been studied long time ago, since 1992 up to today. He graduated from Radboud University in the Netherlands for his doctorate of arts. So in this event, we'd like to hear his speech on the collaboration of the European Union with Indonesia and his response to the project of Indonesian Higher Education Leadership project. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piquet, PhD. The screen is yours. So, Mr. Ambassador, are you going to share the slide?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will not be sharing the slides because I don't have any. I have the spoken word
Right.
this evening, and I am delighted to be with you for this launch session in a 2-day conference that started the iHiLead project between Indonesia and the European Union. And for the sake of this evening, I certainly include the UK as part of the European Union, not in the strict sense, but certainly we're here talking about the education space of Europe, and the UK and the EU are totally connected in that sense. So let me greet, to start with, Professor Nizam, the Director General for Higher Education in the Ministry of Education and Culture, a most esteemed colleague of ours, and we are very grateful for your attendance tonight. I greet Dr. David Dawson, project leader from the University of Gloucestershire in the UK, the country where I studied as an undergraduate for 1 year in the University of Hull, up in the middle east of the UK. I greet the rectors, lecturers, and academicians of the other 2 European universities that participate in the program. University of Granada in southern Spain, wonderful city, and a very old university, and the International School of Business and Social Science in Slovenia, a country with which I'm connected because I was posted there for 3 years at a time when Slovenia was still not yet in the EU, but we were working on its accession to the EU. And I have the very best memories of that time and of the many contacts I had in the university sector. I'm now posted in Indonesia, based in Jakarta, and I, of course, take great pleasure in greeting the representatives of all 7 Indonesian universities in this project. It's a wonderful lineup of universities in Java Island, the President University, Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Universitas Islam Indonesia, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Negeri Semarang, Universitas Padjajaran, where I visited not too long ago, and the STIE in Malang in Eastern Java, a wonderful community of universities, one of the most dynamic universities of Java, this great island of 140 million people, inhabitants, and the intellectual and economic cornerstone of Indonesia. I would like to start with congratulations to all the winners of this project, the 3 European partners led by the University of Gloucestershire, but evidently also by their 7 Indonesian partners. Without a close collaboration between all of you, it wouldn't have worked and you wouldn't have won the grant. You put together a wonderful offer, a wonderful bid for being selected, and you managed in a selection that I know is extremely competitive. So just 2 words, well done, and I wish you every success in the realization of this very exciting activity. This is what we call an Erasmus capacity building project. It is not about the classical exchanges, however important exchanges of students and professors are. This is about building structures, about strengthening the universities, about strengthening the curricula, modernizing them, complementing them, in a partnership that is based on mutual experience, mutual respect, and contributions from everybody. So it's a wonderful opportunity for the institutions with a very special particularity in the case of this project of the involvement of the Ministry of Education and Culture, an involvement that I appreciate very, very highly indeed. In Indonesia, we have had a number of such capacity building projects ever since the EU started this type of cooperation. We have had 42 of such projects involving in total 100 universities. and the 42 projects represent about 1/7th of the total number of capacity building projects that the EU is funding or has funded around the globe. So Indonesia, well done. You seem to have the capacity to get the projects together, the applications made and approved. And that is great for the universities and as well as for the partnership between Indonesia and the European Union. The European Union supports the cooperation between higher education institutions from Europe and the partner countries for a good reason. First of all, we are about building academic excellence, about building education sectors, and thereby building the human resources that countries like Indonesia need for boosting your economy further and for providing the human capital for the governance of your vast nation. That is reason one. The second reason is, of course, about building bilateral relations between Europe and Indonesia. And we all know, or many of us know from personal experience, but we all recognize that intellectual exchange, people-to-people exchange, and at all levels between institutions and between departments and faculties is a key engine for creating bonds, creating links, relations between our two nations, and promoting mutual understanding. And mutual understanding, we need a lot of that these days. The world is extremely confused, some say, and hence we have to try our best at building these partnerships between a country like Indonesia and the European partners, about 10,000 kilometers away from each other, but still they do connect, and education helps build that connection. This particular project, I think, is particularly exciting. It is about supporting the modernization and the adaptation of study programs, of curricula, of ways to manage higher education institutions in a situation that, whether you look at Indonesia or whether you look at Europe, a situation, a context that evolves very, very fast. The last year shows it in very simple and direct terms. The COVID crisis forced us to do something and start doing something in a different way than we were used to. And I'm convinced, and what I hear and see also around Indonesia, that we have managed as institutions and as humans quite well. So this program will help support that kind of capacity to adapt and to evolve and to move on and to build education frameworks in which young people, young Indonesians and younger Europeans can realize their academic potential and get ready for their later professional lives. A word about the cooperation with the ministry. I can with honesty say, and in the presence of Dr. Nizam, the Director General, that cooperation is excellent. We find in the ministry a very responsive and partner, and a partner with initiative, and we appreciate that tremendously. That with the initiatives and support from the ministry. For instance, through the Campus Merdeka initiative, we can build the EU-Indonesia relations in higher education and beyond further. So a warm thank you to Dr. Nizam and to the Ministry of Education and Culture for that. I'm going to close with simply repeating my congratulations to all 7 partners. You have got a wonderful opportunity together. The people directly involved in the management of the project and everybody who is connected with the project in one way or another, whether it's as faculty, as university administrators, or as teachers and as students, because students at the end of the day is what universities are about. They were set up for them, and I very much hope and I'm confident, in fact, that the project will produce concrete benefits for the students of Indonesia at present, but also for the years to come. Dr. Dawson spoke of 50 years. That's a long horizon, and but I agree with what he wants to convey to us. We are building something structural that is of benefit to Indonesia and to European partners for years to come. Selamat malam. It's the evening in Jakarta where I am. Selamat malam dan terima kasih, and I wish you an extremely successful project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, Mr. Vincent Piquet, for the warm congratulations and also for the best wishes for the project of Indonesian Higher Education Leadership Erasmus Plus Capacity Building of Higher Education. We hope that the iHiLead project can improve the bilateral relation between Europe and Indonesia. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last page from the Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to all of the senior management of the 7 partner universities in Indonesia that belong to the iHiLead project, the directors of the institutions, the vice rectors, all the top management of the universities, from the non-partners universities outside of the 7 partner universities who have shown their great interest and willingness to join our today's launching. And hopefully during the discussion session, you will have the chance to address your questions or response or feedback to the 3 speakers of our today's event. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite the last but not least speech from our Director General of Higher Education, Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Insinyur Nizam, Master of Science, DIC, PhD, who has been appointed as the DGHE since July 2020. So, apart from his responsibility in the Ministry of Education and Culture, Professor Nizam is also a lecturer at the Civil Engineering Department, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. He graduated from University of London, United Kingdom. So, Dr. David, you might know about this university for his Doctor of Philosophy. We'd like to hear the experience of Ministry of Education and Culture on the leadership program in the past and the response of Professor Nizam for the iHiLead project, and also the ministry's plan on the policy making and the program for the sustainability of the Indonesian higher education leadership in the future in regards for the freedom to learn campus educational policy. And also we'd like to kindly invite Professor Nizam to officially launch the iHiLead project in this event after the speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Professor Nizam to deliver his opening remarks. Professor
Thank
Nizam,
you,
the
Ida.
screen is yours. Yes.
Thank you, Ida. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good
Waalaikumsalam
evening
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
to Excellency Pak Vincent. Good morning, David Dawson, Nada and Annabelle, and all colleagues joining this video conference this late afternoon or early evening. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the iHiLead members, the Indonesian Higher Education Leadership project, supported by the EU Erasmus Plus program. My appreciations to Ambassador Vincent for the continued support for development in higher education in Indonesia. I know that there are quite numbers of Erasmus Plus project currently running in Indonesia. So I think it's showing a very good support of EU, and we have seen that the Erasmus Plus program is really very good programs that not only develop the capacity of universities, but also develop mutual friendship, not only between institutions, but also between students and also lecturers and leaders from universities from European countries as well from Indonesia. And also many of the Erasmus Plus project I know involve quite numbers of countries, so that makes the collaborations more dynamic and vibrant, not only European with Indonesia, but also from European and African countries, Asian countries, and Indonesia. So this is really a very good project that we really would like to support and further strengthen in the future. Please allow me to share screen just to give you a brief overview of the Kampus Merdeka or Emancipated Learning Program. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Professor Nizam,
Yes.
we can see your
Yes.
screen.
Kampus Merdeka or Emancipated Learning is one of the main policy driver from the ministry to open up our universities to be more agile, to be more flexible, to prepare the graduates with more competence through experiential learning. A brief overview of the higher education in Indonesia. There are more than 4,000 higher education institutions. Many of them are small institutes, but universities in Indonesia, about 581 universities. And all these 4,600 institutions cater for more than 8 million students. It's quite a big population of students, higher education students in Indonesia, considering that our population is close to 280 million people living in this country. So this emancipated learning is actually a program to disrupt somehow our universities from the prescriptive silo approach in teaching into more open up, self-directed and flexible learning. Basically, it gives students to have up to one semester fully credit transferable, taking subjects from other study programs. Students from engineering can take courses from economics, from social sciences, so to make them more broad-minded and with broader base in entering the professional job in the future. And in addition to that, this is the most important one, is to provide the students with experiential learning, emancipated learning through intern in industries or doing many activities outside of campus, but all are transferable into credit as part of their learning outcomes. Because we understand that every student are unique, every individual are unique with their specific talent, passion, aspirations, and everyone has their own path to the future. So why should we put them into the same experience, into the same silo of study programs? So opening up the opportunities for students to develop fully their potential. So these off-campus activities can be one of the 9 groups of activities. One is student exchange, fully transferable credit through student exchange, in which students can take courses from other university, like what we see as a very good program in Europe and the EU, the Erasmus Mundus program, the Erasmus Plus program, where every student can or must take at least 1 semester out of their country to give them new experience, new friends, and opportunities through cross countries experience in case of EU. In the case of our country, giving experience for students to take study outside their own campus in different provinces is similar to students from London to go into Spain, because the distance from the westernmost of our province to the easternmost is like the distance from London to Tehran. So student exchange is one. And second, internship in industries, in bureaucracy, in whatever fields of profession the student is aspired to be when they graduate. So giving them a full immersive experience in the professional world that they will be entering when they graduate. For 1 full semester, up to 2 full semesters in industry to get hard skills, soft skills, and real experience in the professional world. And third, teaching assistants, students that aspire to be teachers, they can have that experience by assisting teachers in remote schools, in helping with literacy, numeracy for the young kids. And fourth, research assistants. Students can be research assistants for leading professors, for researchers. So students that aspire to be a lecturer, to be researchers, they can have those full experience as junior researchers in research centers, for instance. And fifth, humanitarian activities. This is also very popular, especially in this pandemic era. There are more than 30,000 students joining the humanitarian activities in helping mitigating the pandemics through KIE for communications, providing information and education to the community, as well to help the medical doctors to help in hospitals and many other activities. Entrepreneurship is also an area that is very important and very popular to our students. They can start the entrepreneurship while they are still students rather than after graduating from universities. So support from universities as well engagement with venture capitals and business professionals can be facilitated. And 7, micro credentials. This is a very, very important thing to open the opportunities for students, because as we know, with the 4th industrial revolutions, where machine learning, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence is something that often not yet provided in the existing curriculum in conventional universities. So students can take micro credentials with the top global tech players like Google, Huawei, AWS, and many other giant companies globally. And also independent projects. Students can have an independent project guided by their lecturers in collaborative group between students from many faculties, many even across universities, to work on a certain project. And community empowerment, this is also something that is very popular in our students' mind. They can spend 6 months in remote village to do community development. And the ninth opportunities is join military service for 10 months. And to accelerate these transformations, we make contract with directors and Ministry of Education and Culture with 8 key performance indicators. So one is the graduate get decent job within 6 months after graduation. And second, student earning of campus experience. This is the activities that fit into this IHE leadership. Lecture, also we send lectures outside their campus to get professional experience in the industries as well as internships in world-class universities, so they can spend one terms up to 1 year sabbatical leave, whether in other universities or in industries. And we invite professionals to get into campus to share their experience, to bring problem-based, project-based from the industries into the classroom. And for lecturers, we want them, in addition to publications, also develop IPR, intellectual property rights, that can be used by industries. And 6, cooperation between study program with international partners, like through this iHiLead project. And 7, collaborative and participative class where project-based, problem-based learning can be the modalities in the classroom. And 8, international standard for study programs. And for that, government also provide resources in terms of incentive for achieving the key performance indicators and matching fund for to accelerate the collaboration between university and industries in the form of matching fund. Any dollar spent by industries in university for R&D and helping universities preparing the students, government provide the same dollars into that project. And competitive fund for campus to accelerate the transformations of study programs into study program 4.0 or the emancipated learning. And finally, a big chunk of the support for 1,600 billion rupiah for the emancipated learning program, Campus Merdeka programs, which can be university consortium like what you currently have, joint research and publications, curriculum development, student and staff exchange with partners, global partners, internship in industries, so not only internship in university, but also in industries. In Europe, for instance, scholarships for our students, not only for graduate program, but also for undergraduate programs, preferably joint degree, double degree programs with a partner in other countries. And sabbatical leave for professors, micro credentials, and we also welcome world-class university to provide courses in Indonesia and online learning development, especially during this COVID and post-COVID situations. So with these programs, currently we are preparing an MOU with Excellency Ambassador Vincent Piquet to accelerate the current collaborations between EU and Indonesia universities. So more and more students can have experience in Europe and vice versa. More and more European students to have experience in Indonesia. So they can make friendships, they can be the lasting, lifelong friendship between the two countries. And thank you very much again for the support for this project. And thank you, David, for leading this group. And I do hope this group will be successful in developing the project. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Professor Nizam, thank you very much for presentation on the emancipated learning. So this is quite new term for me myself and also maybe for my colleagues in the consortium, because We usually read in the media, it is written as freedom to learn, freedom campus. So now we know the correct term of the Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka to be emancipated learning. So thank you very much, Professor Nizam, for the new vocabulary for us. And also thank you for officially launch the iHiLead project for the next 3 years ahead. And also we would like to ask your kind support from the Ministry of Education and Culture during the iHiLead project within Indonesia. So ladies and gentlemen, we come to the last session of our today's event, which is question and answer session. And we have already received a couple of questions here. We have around 6 questions. So for those of you who are going to give feedback or response or questions to our 3 speakers, please kindly type your question in the chat box, because we think that we do not have any more time to address the questions directly to the speakers. So I'd like to read the first question from Pak Ahmad Lutfi Putra Yogi. I have no idea about the institution. It could be from the media or it could be from the university representative. So the question, I think, is addressed to David or to the Mr. Ambassador. How do you think higher education in Indonesia has been compared to higher education in other countries in Southeast Asia? Maybe Dr. David, you'd like to address the question?
Okay. I mean, I can compare to other countries that I've worked in, so not within Southeast Asian sector. This is the first experience with Indonesia, but certainly I've worked in Moldova, I've worked in other Eastern European countries, and of course in the UK and around Europe. I think in terms of the challenges, they're always different. We're always trying to strive to increase access and quality, and certainly the journey that we've gone through in the UK is about increasing access, and then we are now focusing on increasing quality. I think that would be the same as is happening in Indonesia. There's good access to higher education, and that now there is a need to increase its quality. In other sectors that I work in, you see very different problems and issues. Where I'm working at the moment in Moldova, the issue is about capacity. It's about also about quality, but also internationalization. So I think in Indonesia, you would be facing some familiar problems that higher education sectors face around the world. And so you're not alone in that. And don't think that the European partners to this project aren't facing similar sorts of issues as you within their own contexts. And certainly we've been having those sorts of discussions over the past couple of days.
Thank you very much, David, for responding the question. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Vincent, would you like to some more on the question? How do you think higher education in Indonesia has been compared to higher education in other countries in Southeast Asia?
Well, thank you. I'm unable to make the comparison because I don't have, except for Malaysia, where I was posted for 4 years, I don't have a full knowledge of the education system. But I think the key thing to look at is not so much as how do you compare to the other one, but what does society need in a country and like Indonesia and within an international context. So I think raising quality in higher education or in other levels of education is about carefully assessing your needs as a society vis-a-vis the higher education institutions, adapting your programs, your curricula to that, speaking very closely to the employers in the country, in industry, in the services sector in particular, and and also in government, of course, big employer as well. So it's a successful higher education system is one that listens well to society and the market that it functions in and functions for, and that caters to the needs of students who later on have to work and live in that society. So, and I think that that sort of analysis, self-analysis and development is happening now. I think Campus Merdeka is a very good response to precisely that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for the answer to the question. So I'd like to go on to the second question from Cecilia Mediana from Harian Kompas. So this is one of the medias that we have already invited. So why is leadership training for universities important? What are the problems of leadership in higher education that often arise? So I'd like to share the question to all the three speakers.
Right, I'm very happy to start on that one because
Yes,
that is
David.
my home ground.
Yes.
Certainly, we in the UK recognised that we maybe didn't have as strong as leadership as we needed in higher education, probably about 20 years ago, and have been building our leadership capacities ever since. What difference has that made? It's made a difference in terms of having much stronger leaders who can create change for our sector and for our institutions and at all the different levels of a university. So somebody who is a course leader leading a course needs to be able to deliver change in that course so it delivers for the demands of society and of business as things change. And I think the view here would be that we can be excellent at what we do as teachers, lecturers, researchers, but we then have to at some point take on the mantle of running our organizations and running the sector. And those are very different jobs. My job as a lecturer in leadership or human resource management is very different than my role when I was running part of a university. And we have to help leaders understand the different skills and develop those skills to enable them to make change, but also to understand their roles. Our roles are not just to run a subject area or part of an institution. It's about changing those institutions so that they are better for our students and for the society to which they belong. And it's also about making people step outside of their institutions and understand they are part of a much broader network within their HE sector, and that they should be striving to change that HE sector. And that is, leaders don't just disappear fully formed in any organization. I work outside of the HE sector in defense and commercial sectors as well with leaders in my role. We're no different as a sector to any other, and we need to allow our leaders to develop and help them to do that. And so I see a tremendous impact through the sorts of work we do. Anybody in a university who is in charge of a project or staff has that ability to make change. One of the examples that the partners will know I'm always using is one of our head gardeners in my own institution, who through going through a leadership program, there's no doubt he was a leader, he had staff that he managed, realized that his role was not to make nice grounds and pretty flowers, but to make learning spaces outside for students to learn in productively. And that fundamentally changed his approach to his role and his understanding of his role. And those are the sorts of changes that we're trying to aim for through leadership development. So strengthening it so that we can have better governance of our institutions, but ultimately stronger institutions, stronger learning, stronger students for our societies and business.
For the through information on the question, I'd like to pose the question to our Director General of Higher Education, Professor Nizam. Would you like to share your thoughts on this question? Why is leadership training for universities important? What are the problems of leadership in higher education that often arise?
Yes, of course, leadership is very important, especially in the time of very dynamic change we are experiencing. And change means learning, because every change needs everyone to learn, to be able to learn and adapt into new things, be creative, and lead the institutions to go through that dynamic change. So transformational leadership is very important during this time, what we all coin up as the fourth industrial revolutions, or the many terminology says that is the VUCA, the time of very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous development in any fields, in any aspect. So to bring forward the institutions to go through this very dynamic change, we certainly need leaders, transformational leaders, and for that we really need to have learners, true learners, as our leaders. Someone who is always ready to learn from anyone, from anything, and to be able to adapt with the dynamics of everything. So I really appreciate this project that will put the leaderships and learning as a center of transformations.
Thank you, Professor Nizam. And to Mr. Ambassador, do you have any ideas on that? Would you like to add some?
No, I think Professor Nizam and Dr. Dawson have spoken very, very well.
Yeah.
I would also underline the context in which we live, that leaders recognize that the contexts where they work, live, changes all the time. Some of it you can control, much of it you can't. Adaptation is necessary. Innovation is necessary. Listening and learning. Listening is very important for a diplomat. Is essential. So it's that sort of skill set that we will all have to continue to develop, whether you're a student or whether you're in professional life already, in order to be a leader in whatever way your profession requires you to be a leader. And all of us have to be at their level, in their way.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pickett, for the answer. So I'd like to ask to Dr. David how many minutes that we are allowed to spend to this event, because we are going to continue our kickoff meeting. We've got plenty of questions.
You can take as long as you like, Ida.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry, I have to leave because I have another meeting.
Okay, Professor Nizam. Okay. So
it might be a good time to finish.
Yeah. So we have one more question maybe to Professor Nizam. Professor Nizam, there are some requests to ask your PowerPoint presentation. Is it possible for you to share?
I will share with
PowerPoint?
Pak
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe last question, Professor Nizam, before you leave. There is one question from the why we don't focus on internship program instead of student exchange between universities in Indonesia.
Sorry, what was this?
Yeah. Why we don't focus on internship program instead of student exchange between universities in Indonesia? I propose that student exchange should be done with our international partner.
Yeah, student exchange is very important, not only with partners abroad, but also within the country. For instance, many of the students, they born in Jakarta, raised in Jakarta, study in Jakarta, and work in Jakarta. They never go out of the province. What they know is just Monas. So to broaden their mind, to have new friends, to have new family, to understand the diverse culture, the rich culture of Indonesia. There's no other way than to go outside their hometown, to go outside the province, to get experience, to get again, to make friends, to make families in different provinces. And only in that way we can strengthen the Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, the spirit of understanding between culture, between ethnicity, interreligious understanding. That is very important exchange, like what EU has done in the past, 50 years, 40 years through the Erasmus project. So I think we should learn a lot from the experience of EU in having the Erasmus program.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Nizam, for the answer. Yeah, Professor Nizam, again, thank you very much for coming to this event and also for launching officially our iHiLead project for the next 3 years ahead. Thank you very much. You are going to leave the room, please.
Sorry, I have to leave. I have another meeting.
Okay, please take your time. Thank you, Prof. Nizam. Yeah, okay. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, so David and also Dr. Pickett, maybe you could pick up some of the questions. We cannot answer all of the questions, I believe, because time is not sufficient. So maybe the last 2 questions from the participants, from the university representative, I'd like to pick. But before that, kindly allow me to remind the participants to fill in the attendance list link in the chat box for those who haven't done so. So the question for the ambassador, I pick one question and also for David. What the focuses of these projects and what skills should a university leaders have for uncertainty from Indriani? Yeah, David, please.
Okay, I was going to let Vincent lead because I was interested to hear what he said unprompted. But we have developed with partners around Europe and elsewhere a framework for higher education leadership competencies, which we use to help people understand what it takes to be a higher education leader. Some of that is about understanding that you're a leader and what to be a leader is itself. Some of it is about things like personal values, your ability to have a personal impact in terms of creating change. Some of it is about understanding your sector and your environment. And so we have been using that and in a range of contexts and a range of national contexts for some time now. We will take that framework and adapt it and update it for the Indonesian context and make that appropriate. So those are some of the sorts of skills. Some of them are generic leadership skills. The things that we might look at in particular in terms of HE skills are the ability to manage complexity. As leaders within higher education, we have a broader set of requirements that we're meeting. If you're in the business sector, you may be selling a fairly narrow range of products. We have social commitments as well as business commitments when we are running universities and commitments to our learners. And so we have a variety of different stakeholders, and that's one of the things that marks out higher education leadership as being maybe different to some of those skills that we'd see in the private sector business, such as retail, for example.
Yeah, thank you, David. So I invited Mr. Ambassador to add some more thoughts on the question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very modest speaking about the higher education management skills. I left my last job in the in the Netherlands within the university, but that is quite a while ago. So,
Yeah.
but I think, you know, at the end of the day, what is leadership about is, of course, is a critical understanding, capacity to understand critically what you see around you, to listen carefully, to watch and observe, to hear points of view, whether or not you agree with them or not, but you have to hear them, and so that you're aware of the context in which you work, and are aware of what the other person wants and the next one, and so forth. And of course, in a leader in such a complex mosaic of views, opinions, values, backgrounds, cultures, etc. At some point, you have to see what the commonality is in order to move forward. So, and I think here education is, you know, a critical has a critical role to play. It is par excellence the time in young people's lives when their minds are open or should be open. That's the question. And there's 3 to 4 or 5 or 6 years where you can do whatever you want. Of course, you need to pass some exams and write some papers, but for the rest, it's about learning to understand the world and to understand your fellow human beings, whether they are next door to you or on the other island if within the Indonesian archipelago, or in 10,000 kilometers away from Indonesia in Europe, and try to give some sense to that. And for that, of course, you need leaders at top management levels in universities, in businesses, but also at all other levels. And not all leaders are the ones that you read about in the newspapers or in the glossy magazines and so on, and in the social media. No, everybody can be a leader in his or her way, and I include very particular the women in this equation as leaders of for the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. So, Dr. David, I'd like to maybe pose the last question from the participants and also media that are related to the project. So the questions is about the objectives of the project and also how many universities involved and how long will it take place. And last one is on the universities who are not on the partner institutions. Can they still be involved in the project? So
okay,
like
so can I take this? Can I take the second question first?
Yeah.
Because I think it's the one that I haven't answered in what I said earlier.
Yeah.
And I think certainly we would want non-partner institutions to become involved in the project as we go to implementation. And certainly in terms of if you contact the partner universities in Indonesia, maybe the ones that are closest to you, that would be a good way of getting in contact with the project. Certainly you heard Professor Nizam there saying that we want to have a wide impact and implementation, and it may be with support of the ministry in the future, in the period of the project, that we may be able to go beyond what we intended to do and have been sponsored to do by the EU funding, with the support of the ministry to go even further than that. And certainly we would welcome that opportunity. So as many institutions as possible within the resource that we have is the answer. Get in contact with your local or the closest of the partner institutions to you to do that. In terms of the objectives, the 3 key main objectives are to set up the network for higher education leadership within Indonesia, and to start that working and start expanding its membership. The second is to set up a number of programs that go alongside that, which are likely to be certificated to enable people to actually start learning and building their skills. And of course, a third related objective is to make sure that we have set up training of staff and the structures that will support that network and those programs. So those are the three main objectives. The project runs until January 2024, by which time we hope to have everything fully up and running and implementation rolling out across Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. There's still some other questions, but I think that the time won't be sufficient anymore to answer all of the questions, or what do you think?
Okay, Ida, what I would say is if there are questions from the press in particular, if we could collect them together, then I'm happy to put a response together later on today, UK time.
Yes.
But we do have the rest of the meeting to close by 2100 your time.
Yes. All right, then. So I assume that is the end of the question and answer session. We have come to the end of this event, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say thank you very much to Mr. Ambassador, Dr. Vincent Piquet, for attending our meeting today virtually, and also to Dr. David as the coordinator of this iHiLead project. Especially our sincere gratitude to all of the participants who show your big interest and also your active participations during the session through your questions posted to the speakers. We do apologize that we cannot answer all of the questions directly, but as David mentioned earlier, we are going to collect all of the unanswered questions and send to David to be answered and then to be posted back to you again via email or that might be written in your attendance list today. So we thank you very much for your active participations in this launching, and please stay safe and healthy. By this, I close my session. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon for our partners in European time.
Thank you very much indeed, and good luck to everybody. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador. Yeah.
And Slovenia, greetings. Bye-bye.
You are invited to come again.
Bu Ida, makasih Bu Ida.
Sama-sama Pak Richard. Kita suaranya ada nggak kedengaran?
Masih kok. Masih.
Oh, maksud saya kedengaran
partisipan.
Masih kedengaran dengan partisipan?
Masih.
Oh ya, ini untuk pertanyaan-pertanyaannya gimana Pak Richard? Nanti kita bisa collect ya. Tadi David minta dikirim ke beliau.
Bisa.
Gimana caranya? Oke. Ya. Soalnya tadi saya bingung ya, ada pertanyaan di sebelah kanan, ada pertanyaan di sebelah sini, question and answer.
Iya, betul.
Saya bingung ini mau baca yang mana gitu.
Oke, Bu.
Ya, sama-sama. Terima kasih ya Pak Richard.
Iya.
Di attendance list-nya ada ini kontak detailnya.
Emailnya Bu, emailnya.
Ada emailnya ya?
Karena langsung auto generated. Itu langsung. So ini masih ada participants, nanti kita mungkin bisa lanjut.
Iya.
Oke.
Terima kasih. So, saya leave ya, nggak apa-apa ya Pak Richard ya?
Pak, Bu.
Ya.
Ya.
See you Pak Richard.
Ya.